Hello everyone and welcome to what's going to be the last of my series of Norwegian waterfall hikes. Today we're up in sort of the highlands away from the fjords, doing something a bit different, hiking to Veslulfossen, I think it's called. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. As well as Ulafossen, which is a smaller waterfall I didn't actually know existed. But this was actually plan B for today. We were going to be going out to the Emoten farm and its waterfalls further north, but the road was closed because of the landslide, so we've come a bit further south, just sort of south of the town of Otter, driven up to this little mountain town whose name I'll flash on the screen because again I can't pronounce it, and doing about a 7.5 kilometre return walk to this big waterfall, 180 metres high. I mean, anywhere else this would be a plan A place to visit, but in Norway it's plan B. I'm sure it's going to be a great walk. It's a late evening, like 7 p.m, but as you can see, it's still broad daylight, which is the perks of being here in July. Anyways, following this sort of little trail here. Hopefully it's easy to follow. I've already been a bit lost, but the trail starts just after the main hotel building. There's a little bridge and cattle grid, and then to the left there is where the trail heads in. There's loads of signage. So yeah, let's go check it out. So immediately afterwards, we're onto this road. A private road goes through there, so obviously that trail just bypasses the private bit, taking us towards the roaring sound of the river. It's all very upper class here. That's the big hotel lodge. Lots of nice sports cars and mountain chalets. I'm sure this will be a very snowy area through winter and spring. Add a turn off here. This blue trail's what we want to follow. So 5 minutes later, we're at the lookout for the impressive Ulafossen. You can sort of see upper tiers further up there. So obviously we're at kind of the lower section. Very nice. And as is typical in this country, very powerful. Little ways upstream, on a little side trail off the main track, the main tier of Ulafossen. Kick them a fair bit of spray. That like punch bowl style drop. Once again, very impressive. Well, even higher up now, but I'm assuming it's going to be the highest, or the last tier of Ulafossen. It looks pretty flat upstream. You can see here the top of the falls I was just at. It's really a spectacular complex of waterfalls. Looking down towards the village and some gloomy clouds. So I better press on. Veslulfossen, 3 kilometres. Powerful flow of the water under there before it plunges off Ulafossen. Follow the river up here on this sort of 4-wheel drive track type thing. Mountains in the background there and cascades in the river. Absolutely idyllic. And I would say a great way to break up most of Norway, which is fjords. It's very, very different. Gorgeous mountain panoramas as we still follow along the Pier Glint Trail. Passing along all these huts. It's very wet, this track. I'm not sure if that's typical or just because of a lot of rain we've had the last day or two, but something to keep in mind if you need good hiking boots. Now, add a sign here to Veslulfossen over Carson. Now, there is sort of a loop that loops up that way, back around past Veslulfossen and then to this trail. The first turn off there is the longer way, it goes over that Carson mountain. If I had longer, I'd do the full circuit, but given it's late, we'll ignore that first sign and keep going up because that's a shorter way just to the waterfall. However, I would say, can't really see it through here, but the mountain looks like it'd be quite a nice view, so I definitely would recommend if you had more time. As is, we're going to press on to the other trail to Veslulfossen. At the second junction, 1 kilometre or 1.1 kilometres, depending on what sign you believe, to Veslulfossen. So the trail is quite faint, as you can see, but if you look closer, you can see the blue markings on the rocks there. So the trail's clearly marked, oh, and yellow as well. But the blue trails clearly mark waterfall tracks, which is an intuitive way of doing it. Same as at Ulafossen earlier. And you can see this deep gorge that we're approaching, where the falls drop into. Not far off now, as we sort of descend steadily into the gorge, just hear the waterfall getting louder and louder. It's always a great feeling of anticipation as you sort of make your way down. Just hear the noise get louder. Not far away now. So, a couple minutes further on, arrived at this vantage point, looking down to the spectacular falls and gorge. Now the view here is good, but clearly only incomplete. And it appears that there's a bit of a trail that leads further down. So, I'm gonna go check it out. It's probably one of the more dodgy trails I've done in Norway. If you have a look, it's pretty steep. The view of the falls is nearly perfect from here, so you could very easily turn around now. I'm curious where the trail ends up. Well, after a pretty dodgy old scramble, I've basically made it to the base of Veslulfossen. It's an impressive view here. I'm not all the way into the base because it's just too misty. Like, you could get there, but you couldn't really take a photo. The best view is probably about halfway up the cliff, so I'm gonna head there now to get some photos, but I'll give you a look from this view anyway. Apparently a 180 metre drop, including the upper tiers, which I would definitely believe. This lower plunge looks the best part of 100 metres and it extends quite a ways up there. As far as I'm concerned, this is pretty much the money shot. You're about halfway down, see the whole waterfall, and it's just spectacular. Anywhere but Norway, this would be a major attraction, but here, completely off the beaten path, from a tourist point of view at least. On the trail back now, just sort of finished climbing that hill, so a bit puffed out still, but figured now's a good time to finish off this video and wrap up the series of Norwegian hikes over the last 5 days here. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous country. This was a really unique hike, the only one I did that wasn't starting basically at a fjord. But I mean, besides the videos I've published, seen so many other spectacular waterfalls. The videos are just from like the longer hikes we did along the way. This hike in particular probably allow about 2 hours return, about 7.5 kilometers return, plus a bit longer obviously if you want to descend like I did below the lookout, which I would definitely recommend, at least about halfway down where you see the full waterfall. Probably recommend going further and completing the loop up that little mountain class and whatever it was called. And yeah, you can do more exploring this park because it is gorgeous. But yeah, thanks for watching. That's a wrap on Norway for me. I'll see you next time.